Welcome to another great episode of Create.Learn.Implement, aka CLI podcast with me, Koyeda. I hope you guys are having an amazing day today. The sun is shining, the weather is warming up, spring is in the air. I'm so grateful because winter had me beat, okay? Beat. Today, we have the lovely Victory Omotayo on the podcast. She's a high-ticket sales coach, positioning coach, and mentor. And I titled this episode Pivot Queen because whatever she does it well. So stay tuned for Victory on the other side. Have you ever thought about starting your own podcast? When I was trying to get this podcast off the ground, I had a lot of questions, like how do I record an episode? How do I get my show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and all the other places people like to listen? How do I make money from my podcast? The answer to every one of these questions is really simple. Anchor. Anchor is a one-stop shop for recording, hosting, and distributing your podcasts. Best of all, it's 100% free and ridiculously easy to use. And now Anchor can match you with great sponsors too, so you can get paid to podcast. So when I thought about starting a podcast, I had no idea how it worked. I don't know how I came across Anchor, but I did, and it was free, and it was 100% easy to use. And I love to use it to connect to my audience. So if you've always wanted to start a podcast and make money doing it, go to anchor.fm/start to join me and the diverse community of podcasters already using Anchor. That's anchor.fm/start. I can't wait to hear your podcast. Have you ever wanted to start a business but didn't know where to start? I know the process can be really overwhelming because I embarked on this process over 15 years ago and had such anxiety trying to do this myself. I don't want you to suffer the same fate, so join me and let me help you confidently start and run your business with ease. Go to www.koyeda.com, or you can find me on Instagram at I am Koyeda and click the link in the bio. It's that easy. Join me. Let me help you start that business. Let me help you turn your idea into a business, and let me walk you through the entire process. No stress. See you there. Hi, can you hear me?
Hi, yes, I can. How are you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Victory?
Good.
Well, thank you for waking up at 10 a.m. to speak to me.
I mean, I've been up since like 6, so.
Okay, girl. Okay, so you're ready. So let me introduce you. So hello, everybody. Welcome into another episode. We have the I can't even speak today. The lovely Victory. I don't want to butcher your last name. Omotayo.
Omotayo, what's close?
Thank you. I tried really hard.
You did.
You are a high ticket sales coach and positioning coach. Left your corporate job. Now you're making 6 figures and teaching others how to do the same. How amazing is that? I love that for us, for Black people, that we can trust ourselves to do something like that. So tell us a little bit more about Victory.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thanks for having me on the podcast, first of all.
You're really welcome.
Excited. So my name's Victory. I'm a business mentor to women in corporate. So I'm really helping women who want to earn beyond their desk, so they no longer have to rely on their 9-to-5 for income.
Yes.
I guess just a little bit about me. Entrepreneurship it was not always a plan for me. It might seem like it now that I'm working for myself full time, but like most people, especially coming from an African household, I graduated university thinking I would build a career, I would work my butt off, I would climb the corporate ladder, I would get promoted.
Yeah.
And I thought I was going to be earning enough to live a comfortable life and travel the world on occasion. But that's not what had ended up happening. So I found that when I graduated, I only got jobs that were essentially hell bent and underpaying me. So even though I had a bachelor's degree,
Yeah.
I found myself earning like $11 an hour. I think the most I earned before I went back to school was $14 an hour.
Yeah.
And with that, I could barely make ends meet. So believing that it would take me many years to climb the corporate ladder, I essentially turned to side hustles. So I started my first official side hustle in 2013, I believe. And my side hustles continuously with theirs as what essentially helped me live, helped me travel, helped me save. And then I suddenly got let go from a job. And I think that was the time where I saw the true power of my side hustle beyond just the ability to check out of my 9 to 5 or the ability to have spending money. So that year I was getting married, I got fired, and essentially I had to pay for my wedding, and my side hustles helped me do that. So that was essentially when I realized that I was in a position where I would no longer have to rely on my 9 to 5 solely for income. Yeah. And so I wanted to help other women experience the same feeling. And that's when I launched my flagship program, Knowledge to Profit. And since launch, we've helped our clients earn over $1 million combined beyond their corporate debt. So it's been a great experience just seeing the transformation for women who were either in the same position I was in or just want to start something on the side. So yeah, that's a little bit about me. Very long, but that's me.
That's okay. I love it. It's a full circle kind of story. I do know that you resided in Canada at one point, correct?
Yeah, so I was in Canada and then I moved. So actually the year I got fired was also the year I was moving to the US because my then fiance was here. Yeah.
Yeah. So I know that the dollar is quite different. And you think that, you being a Black woman had anything to do with your pay?
I would say perhaps yes, but I would say not necessarily in terms of them underpaying me because I was a Black woman, but I would say maybe because I didn't have access to the resources that I felt would have helped me with better negotiation in the interview, right? So I feel like there were just specific things that I didn't know about the corporate world. And then also coming from a Nigerian household where it's all about career, it's all about, being the best at what you're doing. Yes. I find that sometimes our parents don't necessarily teach us the aspects of money beyond just like what you're earning in your paycheck, but how to negotiate, how to ensure you're not taking like a job that's less than what you're expecting just because, oh, it's a job. Like, you have to just work hard and you climb up the corporate ladder. So I feel like those are the disadvantages that I feel like personally I had in the workplace was just not being able to negotiate and also not even understand what my worth was.
100%. Yeah. That is definitely something that's going to keep us from those dollars.
Yep, definitely. Yeah.
So for those that don't know, what is a high ticket sales and positioning coach?
So I'm kind of pivoting in my business a bit. So obviously, like I'm still really good at sales. I'm still really good at positioning. This is just my zone of genius. But I guess just to describe what that is. So essentially what I do is I teach my clients how to sell high ticket offers. So obviously we can all sell something for $20, $30, but when you're selling something that is 4 figures and 5 figures, there is a different type of messaging. There's a different type of approach that you need to take to how you are selling. And so I'm very big on teaching my clients how to understand humans. Really, it's all about communication. And I feel like a lot of times people don't really know like what they're saying is wrong, especially when it comes to, again, trying to get someone to pay you $5,000, $10,000. Like it's not money people just drop because of how good your offer is. There is more to it. And so I really focus my energy on teaching my clients how to be better communicators so they can get paid.
I love that. And I love the way you communicate what you're saying. And that's one of the things that drew me to your page. It's the way you communicate, it just sounds very different from how other people are communicating. So that makes your page a draw, even though you don't post all the time. So
yeah.
Definitely. No, I like that. I like that style because I don't plan to post all the time either. So
yeah.
You got to do what you got to do for now.
That is true.
You mentioned pivoting. How important is it to be open to even pivoting, to be flexible?
Yeah, I mean, pivoting was something that I had to learn earlier on. Like when I failed my first business, it took me a very long time to even admit that it was a failure. Yeah. I blamed pretty much everything but myself. I blamed my suppliers. I blamed, my audience. I just blamed so many different things. I blamed the market. Oh, Canadians are so cheap, right? But it took a while for me to I mean, I said that I was like, he doesn't
I
want to
know,
spend money.
I don't know. Maybe there's, I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
So I had to essentially just like sit down and really like admit that I truly did not know what I was doing. In that time, you see people launch businesses here and there, and you think, okay, it's just selling clothes. Like I can do that.
Yeah.
So earlier on, I kind of learned the importance of acceptance. And so I feel like once you accept that things aren't going well or things could be better, I think it's a lot easier for you to pivot. And for me, I am not afraid of pivoting. I pivoted so many times, but I also feel like life is short, and I don't think it makes any sense for someone to do things that they no longer want to do just because of what others will say. And so I've kind of just accepted that if I'm not feeling something in that moment, I'm just going to not do it. And if I feel it again in 2 months, I'll do it again. Who cares, right? It's my life to live, and I don't really care what other people are saying. So I would say advice for pivoting is just to accept that this is not working out. This could be better, and just do it. Not really thinking about what other people might or might not say.
Perfect. I love it, because that's one of the things that keeps us from pivoting is, oh, people are going to think I failed at something, or, judgment. And we fall out of love with something, or we want to explore something else, and we don't give ourselves the chance based on what other people are saying. So I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you remember the specific moment or the specific day that you decided to apply pressure to get where you are today?
Yeah, it was the day when I walked out of my office when I got fired.
Yeah.
Um, that was the day. And I think the thing that hurt the most about that was the first job that I not only loved,
Yeah.
but the first job where I put in my all, right? So, having helped the company, earn like $10 million in 8 months, all the things that I did within the company that I truly did not have to do, that would be beyond the scope of my role. And then when I got fired, I was like, man, it's a dog eat dog world. These corporations are not loyal. So that was the day when I decided, you know what, like, I have something here. I am damn good at what I do. And I don't have to give it to a corporation. I can give it to other women, individuals who I feel that I can help transform their lives. And one thing about corporate is they talk about making an impact, but I've started to redefine what impact means for me. It's not necessarily within a job, it's in the lives of individuals. And for me, just being able to help so many women over the past like 18 months, just see the transformation in their lives has been truly a pleasure and an honor of mine. So yeah, leaving that job and just like walking out of the office was when I realized, okay, it's time to apply some pressure. I can no longer accept this, and I will no longer accept that. So yeah.
Here you are.
Here I am.
What would you say you need to do consistently to retain clients in the crowded coaching industry? Because let's face it, it's getting you got to use your elbows to get in there, get noticed nowadays. So what would you say you need to do?
I mean, I would say honestly, it's just building client relationships. And when I say client relationships, I don't mean people who pay you, also people who don't pay you.
Yeah.
I feel like right now, anyone can give 3 tips on how to start a business. Anyone can give 4 mistakes that you're making that's hindering you from being successful. But not a lot of people can really build those relationships with their audience, build their relationships with their clients. So I would say in order for you to get clients on a consistent basis is you need to show up consistently. And when I say consistently, I don't mean in content, because you already mentioned like I don't post as often. But what I do show up consistently in is with those one-to-one relationships, right? So being able to have one specific strategy, being able to just do things in one specific way, I find would really help you get those clients. Because again, like I can post reels all day, I can post captions all day. That doesn't mean it's converting. And I find that when you are able to have those one-to-one relationships, not only are you gathering data to help you when you do post content, when you do sell, but you're also building those relationships because people buy from who they trust. So that's kind of how I would approach it, is just making sure that you are consistently showing up for your audience, whether it's in the DMs, whether it's, like mostly DMs, to be honest, whether it's through your content, whether it's the clients who paid you, whatever that looks like, it's just making sure that you are present.
Absolutely. In one of your latest posts, it's a reel, and it says, one of the things I hear from a lot of coaches in general is that they need to be in the business of making money to make money. And you're saying this mentality that causes a lot of talent to start a course or program in an industry they have no business being in. So expand on that for me.
Yeah, so I feel like you've already mentioned it, right? The coaching
Yeah.
industry is
Yeah.
getting crowded.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of women feel like, you see your favorite coach and you see that your favorite coach is a sales coach.
Yeah.
And your favorite coach is always saying, sign a new client today, made $100,000 this quarter.
Yeah.
And so in your mind, you're like, okay, so I need to make money I need to help people make money in order to make money. And I find that that comes from a lack of understanding of how content and sales in general works, right? So I feel like the thought that you need to be helping people make money to make money is wrong, because there's a lot of sales and business coaches out there who aren't making money. But then you have mindset coaches, fitness coaches, other people who are helping you in ways that aren't money related, who are making bank. So for me, it's mainly just ensuring that whatever it is that you're doing, you're not only passionate about it, but you're also good at it, making sure you're not just regurgitating what other people are saying, but actually finding what is the problem that is out there that I can solve. And I feel like a lot of people are so solution focused versus problem focused. And that's where the problem starts, right? Where you create an offer and essentially try to fashion a problem out of the offer versus the other way around. You notice a problem, you notice a need, and you fill the gap. That is the best way for you to have longevity. I can never say that word in your business. Is making sure that you're actually solving a person need versus trying to force a solution down a problem.
Okay, I like that. So we have it flipped for some reason and think that's gonna make us money when that's not the case.
Yeah, like I've had a lot of clients who are like, oh, maybe I should do this, maybe I should do that. And I'm like, no, this is what you're good at.
Mm-hmm.
Like now let's make sure that let's talk to people who have that problem and show them that you have a solution versus trying to pivot into sales or trying to pivot into content because you think that's the best way for you to make money. That's not the best way to make money. The best way to make money is, are you actually solving a problem? Is there a need in the market? Okay, great. How do you fill the gap? How do you fill that need? Let's go to clients, let's talk to them, and let's get them in our offers versus trying to do the things that you think is necessary to make money. That's why a lot of women don't start their businesses, is because they feel like, I need a website, I need branding, I need this, I need inventory, I need that. And it's like, you actually don't need that, because at the end of the day, humans are not as complicated as we make it seem. That's why I'm very big on learning how to communicate, because a lot of times we think that people are complicated, but they're not. Someone doesn't necessarily need to want something or need something to buy it, right? True. People do whatever they want to do. Like, we have money, we buy things, we don't buy things. Like, you can tell me everything you want to tell me, but if I don't want your offer, I don't want it. But if I want your offer, I'm going to get it, right? So I feel like it's just making sure that we are able to really communicate to those ideal clients and speak to them on a level beyond just, look at my offer, look how great it is, here's a solution. That's when things really begin to transform for a lot of business owners, coaches, and service entrepreneurs in general.
Do you think people know who their ideal client is? Do you think that's part of the issue?
They don't. Yeah, that is definitely the issue. I think one thing that I talk about in my program is, there is a difference between a target audience and an actual, like, your niche, right? Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of times people are so focused on that target audience. Like, I want to help women between the ages of 25 and 35. I want to help women who are doing this. And an example that I always give in my program is, for example, let's say you're a finance coach and you say, I want to help millennial women. Right. Yeah. A lot of times people think, okay, millennial women is great, that's who I'm targeting. But millennial women are not all the same, right? There's a woman who has a 9 to 5, and maybe her why for learning about finance is she wants to purchase her first property. Or it could be a millennial woman who's pregnant and has a family. Her why is to build a nest egg. Or it could be someone else, right? So there's different types of millennial women. And an example I always use is, I have a cousin who's a Leo. I'm also a Leo. Yeah. And she is obsessed with K-drama, but I've never watched it a day in my life. So imagine if someone said, I want to target Leos, and so they're promoting K-drama to me. I'm not going to listen to that, because that's not really who I am. Just because I'm a Leo doesn't mean all Leos like K-drama. Right. And that's kind of the same thing when you're talking about your ideal client. It's not necessarily who that person is. It's really their why. What is it that's driving them? What are their priorities? And I find that people don't dig deep into that, because most times they're starting something that they think, oh, I'm just going to start this because other people are doing it. Mm-hmm. When you don't have a deep why within yourself, it's kind of hard to figure out what the why is for your ideal client. And I think that's where the problem lies as well.
I'm going to tell you though, don't sleep on those Korean dramas. They're pretty good.
I know, I need to get into it, but I just never I've never once said, let me go watch a
Listen, just go on Netflix right now. I'm actually watching one. It's so good. I can't even remember the name right now to tell you, but don't sleep on it, Victory.
I will. When I'm done watching New Girl for the 50th time, I will definitely watch K-drama.
Okay. All right. So would you recommend that we start out with high ticket offers? Yes or no, and why?
So, so you're saying like if someone wants to start something, should they start with a high ticket offer?
Exactly. Yeah.
Yes and no. Yes, if you actually have something to offer in terms of you understand what you bring into the table, right? No, if you're just wanting to launch a high ticket offer because you think that's the easiest way to make money.
Right.
And I find that, obviously in the industry a lot, we talk about high ticket, know your worth, high ticket, know your worth.
Yeah.
But one thing we don't talk about enough is your worth high ticket? And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I just mean, do you actually have something and a transformation you can give to your clients? Or are you just charging the high ticket for your time? And I find sometimes people put a high ticket price to things, but the transformation is lacking. Right. So if you feel like you really have something worth, and again, I always ask my clients, like, what results have you gotten for yourself or for other people? If you don't have a client, you've never worked with a client before, it's fine. But if you gotten a result for yourself, if you transformed your life in one way or another, I had a client who got into tech with a non-tech degree. That is amazing. Okay, what was that process? How can we package it up and help other people? But if you're just starting something because you saw an idea on Google, like you Googled, different types of coaching businesses to start, I don't think it makes sense for you to put a high ticket price to that unless the transformation is matching. So that's kind of my response. It's kind of like yes or no, but you just have to make sure that the transformation you're offering your clients is actually worth what you're charging them.
Absolutely. Excellent. How do we find our zone of genius? Because they say if you're operating in your zone of genius, then people are going to be attracted to your offer and things like that. So how do we find that zone of genius?
I mean, your zone of genius is honestly like, I would say it's a mix of what it is that you are really, really good at, what it is that you are passionate about, and what it is that the world needs. And this is something that the Ikigai exercise also talks about. And I find like the main thing is between what you're passionate about and what it is that you are good at. And I think I mentioned this on Instagram sometime, how my dad once said to me, just because you are passionate about something doesn't mean you're good at it. And I was like, okay, that's kind of mean, but it makes a lot of sense because I find that we gravitate towards passion only, but we're not good at it. Something that is your zone of genius is something that you have to be absolutely the best at. Like you have to be excellent at it where no one else can do it like you do. So it's really just digging into, okay, what do I do right now for my friends and family? What do I talk about? A question I ask my clients is, if you were to be invited to speak at a TEDx, right? What is the number one topic that comes to mind? Yeah. And that's, people don't necessarily think, oh, I can turn it into a business, right? And that's one of the reasons why I even started my business was I wanted to demystify entrepreneurship, because I find that a lot of women feel like the best business to start is this grand idea that's going to be $1 billion company. I want to be the next Google, the next Facebook, the next this, the next that. But there's a lot of businesses that are started in the passion space that people don't know about because they just gravitate towards the grand idea. So when you really dig into your zone of genius and you know what you're excellent at, you know what exactly it is that you are passionate about, you're going to start to realize that there are people in the world who need what you have, right? And I've had clients who've been like, well, I'm just really, really good at like helping people. Well, helping people in what way? Well, when my friends come to me to ask for advice, I give really, really good advice. I'm like, okay, keep digging deeper. What exactly is the advice about? What are they asking you about, right? What are ways that you've helped them? The more you dig in and you ask more questions, you start to realize, okay, there's actually something that I'm good at. Now, how can we package it in different ways, right? It doesn't have to be you necessarily helping your friends or helping individuals. You can package it and help corporate. Maybe there are companies who need your help with maybe onboarding their hires, right? There's just so many ways that you can essentially like package your zone of genius. But the first thing is really understanding like, what are you good at and what are you passionate about? And does the world actually need this? Is there people out there who are in need of your service? If the answer is yes, then go ahead and launch it.
Perfect. It's funny you say that because I just did a series where I was using one example and I turned it into 5 businesses. And one of them was helping corporate. So it doesn't necessarily have to be individuals, just like you're saying. So that's definitely a true statement. Now, in the world of coaching or entrepreneurship, I should say, how important is the coaching experience? being coached by someone?
I mean, so like if you can reframe that. So when you say being coached by someone, like what do you mean?
So getting a coach, getting like a mentor to help you in the process. How important is that experience?
I think it depends on the individual.
Yeah.
Um, there are some people who are hell bent on figuring out themselves, and that's okay. It
Yeah.
will take you longer, most likely, but that's fine. But if you are the type of person where you are like, I just want to do this right, I want to do, whatever it is that I want to do within a specified period of time, then I would definitely recommend that you get a coach or a mentor that has been there before and can really help you avoid the mistakes. For example, for me, like I've experienced a flopped business, like my whole first business didn't even go anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I can teach my clients the things not to do to ensure that they're not in that position. I have experienced a successful business that I ended up selling. I can teach my clients what is necessary to get there. So I just feel like it depends on the individual. For me, I'm very big on convenience and fast lane. So whatever is the fastest way for me to get to where I want to go, I'm willing to put my money where that is, which is whether it's hiring a coach or mentor or hiring an expert who can come in and do the work. That's just me. And it took me a while to get there because when I started my first business, I didn't even think about getting a coach or a mentor. I wanted to figure it out myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I did figure it out. My second business, what I learned from my first, I applied to the second, it was successful. But again, it depends on the person. If you don't have the time to do that and you're like, I just want to get it right, then definitely having someone in your life who can really guide you along the way and show you the best way to get there is important. But one thing I will also say as well is it's not just having someone talk in your ear and, coach you necessarily. I also feel like sometimes we need people who can give us the actual blueprint. And I think that is a big difference. And one thing I've seen a lot in the coaching industry is, people tell their clients what to do, but not necessarily how to do it. And I find like that's the big difference between like having that coach and a mentor, someone who can essentially be both and show you like, okay, here's what you need to do, but here's actually how to do it. Now let's go do it so you can actually get the results. And that's why I talk about making sure whatever coaching business you're starting, you're focused on implementation and not just theory. We learn theory in school. Look where we are. I graduated, I studied, I got the grades, I graduated, I couldn't apply anything in the real life, right? But by having an actual implementation program, you are not only empowering your clients, but you're actually giving them the blueprint to ensure that they can go replicate and do that for themselves. Now, when your client's able to take what you've given them and go out there and do it, that's how they develop their own processes, right? And so I feel like being able to give your clients the what and the how is extremely, extremely important.
Awesome. Now, you've mentioned that you've had a couple businesses before. Just to help our audience understand that pivot is good and that you've gone through a couple of things, what are these businesses you've had in the past?
So I've had many side hustles, but the ones that are memorable obviously would be like the ones that I've actually invested time in. So my first one was a fashion-based business.
Yeah.
That was a flop mainly because I worked on the back end more than the front end. So I built my website. I got the domains. I got the suppliers. I got the branding. I did all of those things because I thought it had to be perfect, and it didn't work out. Mm-hmm. The second business was a hair-based business. That was successful because I did not invest anything until I made my first sale. I actually was able to learn more about social media, more about the wait list, more about pre-selling. These are things that I teach my clients now. It was literally things that I did when I launched my hair business. And then after that, I had an event-based business. This was when I was in Canada. And essentially I would host like mini brunches with about 10 to 30-ish women, have them come in, dress all pretty. It's very nice. But also I had women who were in like business owners who started businesses based on passion. Now I was very adamant about that because again, I wanted to show women that the business ideas is not just the next Google or Facebook. It doesn't have to be that grand. Mm-hmm. And so I had women particularly who were like, I started my business, and helping women do this. I started my business and helping women do that. And so I had that business. And then I started my coaching business. So that's kind of the progression that I've had from like failing, success, and then obviously this one is the most successful. And so, yeah, that's it.
Perfect. I love that. So in terms of positioning, how important is the aspect of positioning in sales?
I mean, life is just all about perception.
Yeah.
And, you see brands that sell a bag, for example, for $5,000, and you see another brand that sells it for $500, right? and you see that the brand that sells it for $5,000 is making more money than the $500 person. And that's pretty much what positioning is, right? A lot of people feel like just because they have a low ticket price means instant sales.
Yeah.
But then you find that you're still struggling to sell, even though your course is $100. That's how you know you have a positioning problem. Same thing when you have a high ticket course and you're struggling to sell, is because you have a positioning problem. And so I would say positioning is very important, because it's really how you are positioning your offer in the minds of your ideal client, but not just in their mind, but also tying it back into like their current priorities. So for example, let's say let me give a good example here so I can actually like take the message home. But let's say I am a mindset coach, and I have a course or a program, and it's $5,000. And all I do is just talk about how I'm going to show you how to get over imposter syndrome. I'm going to show you how to rewire your mind. I'm going to show you how to get to the next level, like just fluffy words, right?
Yeah.
But my client is like, okay, that's great, but that doesn't really matter in terms of like what I'm experiencing. Now, how you can reposition that is talking about their day-to-day. So for example, you can say, hey, let me know if today in a work meeting, you wanted to raise your hand, but you chose not to. It's like, oh yeah, that's me. And you find that consistently when it's time to speak up for yourself, you get like anxiety thinking about doing that, right? These are just fluffy words here. Yeah. And what you're doing right now is you're starting to make your ideal client aware of a problem that they're having. And then when you actually introduce the solution, you're able to tie the problem to your offer. That is the best way to position versus just saying, I'm going to help you overcome imposter syndrome. No, let's talk about their day-to-day. Let's let them be aware of the things that are happening and why it's happening. And I find that the moment you start to do that with your content, the moment you start to really have your clients say, I need this right now because I can no longer feel this way, is the moment when you struck gold. So positioning is very, very important. It's really in the way you say things. It's in the way your offer is perceived. Yeah. And it's really in the way you connect with your ideal client. So that's kind of the example I like to give, because I know with mindset coaching, I've had clients who really struggle with that, because it's like, again, it's not tangible. It's not, I can help you make money. So how do you really speak to your ideal client? Yeah. It's by connecting the dots for them. If you don't connect the dots, you're not going to get paid. That's what I tell my clients. So we always have to make sure we are connecting the dots.
I like that. Yeah, a lot. Okay, so what is something that we need to unlearn when it comes to selling or making sales?
Unlearn when it comes to making
sales or selling our offer, or selling our products.
I mean, I don't even know if this is an unlearned thing, because I think people should know that, but I think it's mainly just like, like asking for the sale is not necessarily like actually asking for the sale.
Yeah.
For example, I'm working with a client right now, and she told me like, oh, I went through our messages just to like see how you sold to me. And she was like, you didn't sell once. Yeah. She's like, so I don't know how the hell I signed up for this. And she was like, because in her messages, she was one selling herself. Yeah. And the reason why she was doing that was because, again, my content did the work for me. Right. Yeah. So you don't necessarily have to say pay me for someone to pay you. Again, it's really in how you are writing your content and how you are positioning your offer. So I would say it's not necessarily about learning how to sell, because let's be honest, we all know how to sell. Whether you believe it or not, we sell ourselves on a daily basis. And it sounds bad, but we do. When we talk to our friends and family, when we want something from our partners, we're selling ourselves, right? Yeah. But I feel like when people think about selling when it comes to business, they climb up because you're like, okay, how do I really ask for the sale without being too pushy or being too salesy? And the best way for you to do that is make sure you are selling through your content. And I don't know if that's something people need to unlearn or it's just things that people already know, but the moment I started focusing solely on selling through my content versus actually outwardly selling was when I find things were a lot better, because I had people in my DMs who didn't bring me objections. I had people in my DMs who weren't trying to negotiate my rates, because I had done everything in my power to ensure I was translating what I wanted through my content. So if you don't have a content strategy, focus your energy on that. It might not be you not knowing how to sell. It might just be you don't actually know how to position said offer to sell. Okay. I think you answered my next question, which was the number one tip. But let me ask you this. How important is the DMs? How important is it in terms of speaking to potential clients, in terms of allowing them to come to you? How important? I mean, it's very important. I feel like everyone needs a like strategy for that.
Yeah.
I know people who do sales calls, some people who do DMs, some people who don't talk at all to their clients.
Yeah.
And I think it just really depends on you
Yeah.
and your business, but also like how your clients love to be approached.
Yes.
You might have some clients who really need that touch point with you. You might have some clients who don't need a touch point with you. So I would say important really just depends on what you're selling, who your audience is, and what your strategy is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, I'm sure you've experienced people that you have worked with and they're like, no, I didn't get anything from this. So in your experience, why do people walk away from saying that they didn't learn anything or it didn't work for them? What is the issue here?
I mean, it could be twofold. One could be the way the program was structured,
Yeah.
which is why, again, I'm very big on like in my offers, I tell you what to do, but I tell you how to do it. I give you the
Yeah.
templates, I give you the scripts, I make sure you have everything that you need to ensure that you are not stuck.
Yeah.
But it could also be the person themselves not really doing what's necessary to get the results. So it could be both. It could be the way the program is structured, or it could be that the person had everything they needed, but still didn't do what was necessary.
Mhm.
It could also be that they jumped the gun a lot sooner than they had expected,
Right.
which is why being very clear on who it is you're trying to help is very important and at what level you're trying to help them. For me, I tell my clients, you can't just say, this program is for, a woman who is XYZ. Let's talk about the characteristics of said person.
Yeah.
Because if you have someone who's like, I'm going to do the work, I value the investments, I am really, really ready to implement, you will find that those are the people who end up getting results versus people who are just think that, entrepreneurship is easy, being a business owner is easy, making money is easy. They kind of skim through everything you're teaching them and think, okay, I just have to do X, Y, Z and it will work. So again, it could be the person or it could be the way the program is structured. It just depends.
You know what? Some people make entrepreneurship look so easy and so sexy that I think that's
Yes.
what some people going to courses thinking, like,
Yeah.
oh yeah. But as someone who is actually in your course, I can say that there is a lot of lessons there. So you can't walk away with nothing. I can say that 100%.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So if I were to, this is not a business related question. If I were to look into your bag right now, Victory, what is one odd or surprising thing that I would find
In my bag,
in your bag?
a lot of receipts.
Why you got
My
so many
bag
receipts?
is a hot ass mess. It's so embarrassing. Like when I go out and I'm trying to take out my wallet, and I'm just like kind of push my receipts down and like stop embarrassing me. Yeah, I have a lot of receipts that are not organized. That's what you find.
Okay. Now, you mentioned that you're pivoting, which is I love. I love a person that can pivot because I know you're going to kill it, whatever you do. So
Thank
what
you.
are some new stuff that you're working on?
So my course, so the course that you're in, Knowledge to Profit,
Yeah.
is kind of getting a restructure. So again, like initially when I launched it, I was helping mainly people who wanted to be coaches.
Yeah.
But after a lot of reflecting and listening to the Lord,
Yeah.
I kind of had to go back to why I started my business to begin with. And I felt like I was putting a lot of women in a box that I didn't want to be in. And I remember having many conversations like, hey, I really want to work with you, but I don't want to be a coach. Can you help me? It's like, no, I can't really help you. Like, again, we talk about niching down and focusing, and that's big as well.
Yeah.
But what I'm doing this time around is essentially I am opening Knowledge to Profit and also restructuring the curriculum, but I'm opening up to more women, not necessarily coaches, but women who want to offer a service. So it could be, you can want to be a graphic designer, interior designer, you want to be, want to be an Airbnb host, like whatever it is, you're offering a service. And I really want to help women who are, they have something they're passionate about, something they're good at, but they don't necessarily want to teach. Because I'll be honest, being a coach is not easy. And we make it seem easy, but it's not, right? And so that's kind of why I'm pivoting with Knowledge to Profit. Beyond that, I'm also going into interior design this year. It's been a passion of mine for a while. I took a certification course for it like years ago.
Yeah.
But kind of like the process of buying my own home and designing my own home is kind of reignited that passion for me.
Yeah.
And for me this year, I want to see what's there. So that's kind of like the two things I'm working on. It's just like making sure Knowledge to Profit is accessible to more women, but also doing something for myself, like interior design. So
Awesome.
yeah.
Do what makes you happy. For sure.
Yes, do what makes you happy. Life is too short.
100%.
Yeah.
You're a coach, you're an entrepreneur. This road gets lonely, really lonely. So how important is it, or community for, coaches, entrepreneurs, like whatever it is you're doing?
It's very important, like one of the reasons why, of course, beyond wanting to help more women, why I started my, event-based business was because I didn't have community. At the time, I was the only one of my friends who was entrepreneur minded. And that was hard. That was very difficult to kind of have conversations around your business when people don't really get it.
Right.
So having women in your life, or men, whatever, just having a community of people who get it is extremely important. Like I met my friend Lauren 2020 on Instagram. She was like my first like community-based type friendship with the industry. Obviously now we're like friends for life, but that was such a huge, it made such a big difference in my business that I didn't even know until I reflected on it. A lot of things that you might want to do, some decisions you might want to make, not necessarily know if it's the right thing to do, wanting to kind of vent to a friend about just life in general, business in general. I find it so important, but also important to have people who are on the same wavelength as you, challenge each other, move each other, like help each other out in whatever way possible. It's important because it is very lonely. It is, as much as it's fun to work for yourself, it's lonely and it's hard. And having that community is very important.
Right. You're not in an office with Sarah, Sally, and Tom.
Exactly. You're alone.
Now and say, hey, how was your weekend? You're alone. Yeah. So thank you. So Victory, if someone wanted to work with you, become a coaching client, take your course, how can they access you? How can we reach you?
Instagram, even though I take forever to respond to DMs, I promise I will respond eventually. Instagram for sure. My website is there, but I haven't updated my website in a while, so I need to work on that. But definitely follow me on my Instagram. It's my first and last name. And that's where I kind of share a lot of the things that I'm working on. And the link in my bio, you can click on it, you can apply to work with me. So, yep.
Perfect. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. It was really informative. Thank you so much, Victory. I'm going to be watching for all the other stuff you have coming out.
Yes, for sure. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really
You're more than welcome. You're more than welcome. You take care.
All right. Bye.
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 Thank you for tuning in to another great episode. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and leave a comment, as all these things help to keep this podcast alive. Take care.